This video is brought to you by Brilliant. I wasn't planning on doing an Apple Watch Ultra review, but at the same time, I wasn't planning on purchasing one either. Until I did.
The urge.
I will be upfront and say that I will share my experiences with the Ultra as an average E, and I will refrain from trying to be adequate at adrenaline activities where I can showcase life-saving features. Instead, I'll tell you how I feel and use the Ultra as any other bloke who wears a dive watch and works at a desk. Unboxing the Ultra was definitely more exciting than any of the recent Apple products I've unpacked recently. Since each Ultra is the same titanium case with ceramic back and flat sapphire crystal with protective lip, boasting this sort of a standard silver color, the only difference is the band, and the package clearly represents that. I bought the Alpine Loop, which I'm sure you laugh at because it's the small size and it barely fits me. Unfortunately, due to the scarcity of these watches in my location, I had no other choice. Well, I had, and it was to wait. But despite the wrong size, the Alpine Loop is a great band and it complements the Ultra quite nicely. I have other band choices that I'll talk more about in a bit, but before that, let me tell you about the watch itself. I've never felt so much guilt purchasing an Apple Watch. The keynote and advertising made me feel like a total chump that don't climb mountains nor dive in oceans, and at first I was confident that I won't be buying one. But then I saw mere mortals going for it, and it looked great on most wrists, including women's. Looking at my other normal watches, I realized that this must be a great everyday watch that happens to also excel in extreme conditions. An example would be the bigger buttons that are easier to press, something that will come in very handy in the upcoming winter days when I'm wearing gloves. When I work out, the dedicated orange button comes in very handy, and the overall sturdiness of the device itself makes me feel more at ease wearing it all the time without constantly worrying that I might damage it. In fact, I use it more as a smartwatch than ever before for 3 reasons. By the way, if you end up enjoying this video, subscribe, because why not? Reason number 1 is the larger screen. It's much easier to read, not only because of the increased size, but also because it's flat. Responding to messages is now actually possible, so is reading something or even scrolling through social media. The most used calculator app is officially the one on the Ultra, and that's why it's placed in the complication. This screen is the absolute best camera viewfinder when doing shoots with the iPhone, something that I actually take full advantage of. The improved 2000 nits display is effortless to look at no matter the surrounding environment, and the Wayfinder mode or night mode is awesome. With the Ultra, I'm actually inclined to browse and look for cool apps to use with, which has never been the case before. It's definitely a more productive device and not just an extension to my phone anymore. The larger screen makes me leave my phone behind more often than I thought, which brings me to reason number 2. The more powerful speakers and the new microphone array are fantastic, which somehow makes me more inclined taking or initiating calls from the watch itself.
Well, hello sir, how can I help you?
How are you, man?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you perfectly.
If I am driving a car, I can comfortably conduct a conversation without having to bring the watch closer to my face to hear what the person on the other side is saying. Nor do I have to yell to be heard. The improvements that we're talking about here definitely have an impact, since more and more people are actively trying to ditch their iPhones in favor of using the Ultra as a standalone smartphone replacement, but it's not there yet, and I think mainly because of the app choices and support. There should be more now. Reason number 3 for using the Ultra more than my previous watches is of course the battery life. The Ultra does not disappoint. In fact, sharing my experiences with friends of mine always leads to their conclusions that they're thinking of getting an Ultra for the battery life improvement alone. The Ultra changed my charging habits and overall smartwatch habits just by lasting over 2 times more than my previous fairly new 7th generation Apple Watch. If I keep the always-on display, I easily get 2 full days and nights plus another maybe 12 or 16 hours before I'm reminded to place it on the charger. Those days include workouts and fairly moderate moving habits, yet nothing extreme. I don't use it with an eSIM, and it's part of my iPhone routine, so it lasts a bit longer. If always on is off, I can hit and squeeze maybe even more from the battery. For years, I was used to placing the Apple Watch on the charger every night, not wearing it in bed in order to avoid midday top-up sessions. Now I put it on and just forget about it, which is great because for the first time, I'm actively tracking my sleeping habits. I like the always on, so unless I'm traveling and I want to make sure that I don't have to charge it, I keep the always on. Just as the Ultra has changed my smartwatch charging habits, Brilliant is changing my learning habits. I know most of us don't associate the word studying with entirely positive experiences, especially when it comes to math. But Brilliant have found a way to make learning new skills in STEM fun. It's all college-level material minus the pressure. See my last discovery, for example, Calculus in a nutshell. This course explains the fundamental pillars of calculus, but with a hands-on approach and actual real-life examples. For instance, I practice integrals by finding an area bounded by a parabola, which to be honest left me feeling as smart as an ancient Greek scientist. The information comes in bite-sized portions, so it's not overwhelming. After Calculus in a nutshell, you can explore the rest of the calculus lessons. Brilliant will keep things exciting for you by adding new content every month. To get started with the app for free, visit brilliant.org/thisise or click on the first link in the description below. And the first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. So here's what I like about the Ultra and what I don't. First and foremost, the Ultra is different. The standard Apple Watch has become the status quo for many, and unless you get a stainless steel Series 8 with an interesting band, you'll be blending in for the most part. It's a fact that in the world of watches, looks matter, and I think that's one of the reasons so many people have jumped to the Ultra this time around. Although I have other watches, I use the Apple Watch 99% of the time because it's also a tool. It's my tracker, my Mac authenticator, my alarm, my reminders tool, my preferred payment method, my viewfinder when shooting stuff with the iPhone, and now I can do that while standing out. I also like the ruggedness of the device and how big it is. I've always preferred larger watches and now I have one. The size increase goes hand in hand with everything that I mentioned about the display and usability. The only thing that I would have loved to see with the Ultra is perhaps a different color. I would have gone with a black version in an instance, or maybe a ceramic body exactly how it looks on the bottom, which is awesome by the way. That of course will be a durability compromise, I know. Now in terms of bands, I most often circle between two right now. I recently purchased the White Ocean band because I like how it looks and how it stands out, and I honestly didn't expect for it to be that comfortable. With it, I don't feel the watch on my wrist at all. I like the idea behind the removable buckle that goes into the internal holes of the band, ensuring that the band will not unbuckle no matter the circumstances. That, however, is perhaps the biggest issue if I were to work on the computer with it, since it can easily scratch the aluminum. The second band that is a perfect match for the Ultra is the traditional band by Nomad. Although this is a leather band, I had no issues swimming with it, and it's again very comfortable and it looks great with casual and even more formal wear. Nomad's titanium band in black also stands out, especially with a black watch face, and the contrast between the watch body and the black links is great. Now, if you want to learn more about my favorite bands and other watch accessories, be sure to check out my accessories video, which I'll link at the end of this one. So the Ultra is an expensive watch, but not nearly as expensive as some other watches out there. I have people asking me if it's worth upgrading from another Apple Watch, and the logical answer is of course no, because the Ultra does almost the same day-to-day things as the Series 8 and the Series 7, for example. I'm excluding the extremes, of course. The Ultra unlocks my Mac and tells the time just as well as any other Apple Watch. But it stands out, it's more productive, and to me it feels a lot more like my type of watch. It's rugged and functional. If you enjoyed this video, then you should definitely check out my favorite Apple Watch accessories video, which I recently released. Like and subscribe to the channel as well as my newsletter, and as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is E, over and out.